Hi friends! Welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette, ranking, and review videos, as well as the occasional other content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like me, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I try to post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And I know I don't have to specify this every time, but I do feel like giving full disclosure for anyone that is new here. I'm shooting for 2 videos a week, but I am still, in the throes of newbornhood phase, parenthood, newborn, whatever. Whatever you want to call that. We are still trying to figure out a sleep schedule. So 2 videos feels like a lofty goal right now, but I'm going to keep saying it because it is my goal to get back to that if possible. I'm sure by the time I get this all figured out, I'll be back at work and then I'll have to try and figure that out again. But anyways, today's video. As you can see by the title, I'm ranking every eyeshadow palette that I used in the month of March. I do want to specify, we only have what I think is 14 palettes, if I can count correctly. 14 palettes that I used in the month of March, so this was going to be a really quick one. Most of these palettes are new, and March was a funky month because I went into labor on March 7th, my son was born on March 8th, and yeah, I didn't do my makeup a whole heck of a lot in those weeks following. I mean, I did it more than I thought I would, but it still was like, I think I did my makeup 2 to 3 times a week for a majority of the month. So, yeah, there we go. Anyways, I'm still gonna rank what I did. I do have a question for all of you though. I have filmed the Adept Cosmetics Cyborg Choir First Impressions video. I just haven't edited and posted it yet. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. I can edit and post it. I also just feel like enough time's passed that I could probably just scrap the video at this point. I don't know. TBD. But I have that filmed, and then I have 2 Makeup Diaries videos filmed. And I have some new stuff that I have ordered or am planning on ordering. So I'm sort of like, am I realistically going to get to it? I don't know. Let me know if you want to see it, though, down in the comments. If there's enough people that want to see it, maybe I'll still try and post it. But anywho, let's move on to the ranking. For those of you that are new here, let me just give a quick disclaimer on how I rank my palettes. So first things first, I create a tier system. So there are 4 tiers. First tier is I feel meh about it. Like if the palette were to break or leave my collection somehow, would I be that upset about it? Probably not. We don't have any palettes in that category for today. So we're just going to skip that. Third category is palettes that I like, and I think they're okay, but there's certain things that I'm like, they're not quite perfect, or there's just some nitpicky things that maybe bug me. And then next category is palettes that I love. Like I love them, highly recommend them, think you'll enjoy them if you wanted to pick them up. And then the last category is Holy Grail favorites. Like these are palettes that if I could either 1, see myself running out of them and wanting to purchase a backup, or 2, if something happened to them, I would be actually devastated because I would need them in my life. So that's the breakdown of the 4 different categories. I do still put the palettes in order from least liked to most liked within each category. So if you're looking for that sort of ranking, does still exist. I just don't tell you the number as we go through because usually I have about 20 plus of these, and I can't apparently keep count beyond 20. Today I probably could do it because there's only 14. But anyways, at the end I will talk about which palettes I used the most in the month. I combined most and month. Anyways, I will tell you which palettes I used the most in the month, and so you can get just like a good idea of if I'm like, this is my favorite, I used it one time. You know what I mean? So anywho, these are all palettes that are new or old. Most of these are new because like I said, I didn't really do my makeup a whole lot. So most of what I did was with the new stuff that I got. But anyways, I will mention in the description box down below any palettes that were gifted to me in PR. I will have links. I will note if the link is an affiliate link, which means I earn a small commission if you choose to use that link. Same with the codes. If you do that, I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you. But yeah, I think that's all the business. I will put my codes up on the screen as well, but if I forget them, check the description box. Everything should be in there. let's get into it. So as I stated, there is nothing that's in the category of like, meh, if it left my collection, I wouldn't care. I like all of these palettes, and I would be sad if any of them left my collection, but yeah, that's where we're at. Also of note, in the description box down below, I will link any videos I have that include looks with these palettes. I will say most of these palettes, the looks are in the 2 makeup diaries videos that I have yet to edit, so you might not see a video with these, but there might be one someday. Anyways, starting off in 14th place, but also we are in the category of I like these. I think they're good. I think they're nice. There might just be some nitpicky things about them. So first up, we have the Viseart Petite Shimmer Sultry Muse palette. Viseart did send this to me without any obligation to post. They just said they wanted to put a little package together for me. This was one of the palettes in there. I actually used this on... okay, funny story. Funny story. I packed makeup in my hospital bag to go to the hospital to deliver and have my son. And like at the time I was like, well, doing makeup calms me down, makes me happy. I could totally see myself doing makeup while I'm there. Like that makes sense. In hindsight, I don't know what sort of time I thought I would have. Like I was busy. I was busy trying to get that baby out, so I did not have time to do makeup. But anyways, once we came home, my mom was staying in our guest bedroom, which is actually the room that I film in. So I really only had access to the makeup that I had packed in the hospital bag. So that worked out. So when people were coming over and stuff, I used this, or we went to the pediatrician's office. I was using this palette for like super quick, easy looks. And I've said this before about Viseart's shimmer formula. They're not like wham bam in your face, like sparkly, you know, indie shimmers, but they work really nicely if you blend them into the lid. You can do one and done looks, and like this palette totally solidified that for me. I just think, I don't know, there's something different about the Viseart formula compared to a lot of the indie formulas, and so that's why I think I like them so much, because I can do something different. In fact, I have a Viseart look on today. It's Viseart, and it's their new Paris Reverie Étendue with the Lunar Beauty Moonshroom palette. But you can see like the eye look is very like soft but pretty, if that makes sense. It's super easy to use. Anyways, liked this one. It's just, compared to the other palettes, not my favorite. And then this one is an all shimmer palette, so you have to want to do an all shimmer look, which sometimes I do. It's just, I'm more of a matte girly. Next up, we have the Viseart Petit Pro 1 palette. Anyways, this is what the palette looks like. I really like the depth of the mattes in here. I think this palette is nice. I do think they have a nicer shimmer formula in their more recent palettes. These are not my favorite from Viseart, so this one is here, but I really like the depth of the mattes, and I was using it actually in conjunction with this and some of the other Viseart palettes that you're about to see in a second. This one I purchased myself. So I've purchased most of my Viseart palettes myself. I just recently was put on their PR list, which is a really fun time, and I'm so excited. Anywho, next up we have the Petit for I think it's Hesperides. Also, can you see the palette? My dog ate it. Like, and they did gift this one to me in PR. It was intact when they gifted it to me, and then my dog tried to eat it. Here's the actual palette. Luckily, though, he had realized his error as soon as he bit into it, and nothing happened to the shadows. So this one is this. I think this is a really nice quad. I think the shimmers, I like this shimmer formula, like I said, better than the ones in the Petit Pro 1, but it's just, you know, kind of it's a neutral quad, so there's only so much variation and variety you can get in it, which is why I have it here. But these quads are really nice when you don't have a ton of like time to do a look, or yeah, you're on your maternity leave and people are coming over and you don't want to look like a total mess, but you also don't really want to spend a ton of time on makeup because you're tired. That's what that's what these have served. But anyways, I was gifted this one in PR, and this is one of the new palettes that they had released in March. This is the Petit for Isolde palette. I feel bad calling these new when they've released other stuff since then. I like the color story on this one slightly better, but similar kind of overall comments to the other one. I also like that they have this more satiny shade in here, which I feel like gives it more of an interesting finish with the different looks. I get a little bit more variety just because of the different formulas in that one. Next up, we have the Divaroon Cosmetics Gloomy Gardens palette, and I like this palette. I just don't find myself reaching for it a lot. I think the last time I ranked or did a ranking video, this palette was in here, and I said if I have the Celestial Garden collab with BellaBeauteBar, I want to combine it with this one, since M. Jones, who did the Celestial Garden palette in conjunction with BellaBeauteBar, is the owner of Divrun, and she said they're kind of meant to go together, or they're sort of meant to go together. So I want to try and play with them together and see if that makes me want to reach for them more. But yeah, this one's just not something that I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, like knocked my socks off, I want to keep using it and playing with it. I just find that I haven't reached for it a ton or don't feel compelled to. Next up is another new palette for the month of March. This is the Gourmand Girls and Steph's Beauty Stash Nueva Vida palette. This palette came, actually, I think like the day I got home from the hospital. And then, so I was able to use this and the like Viseart palette. So when I wanted to have a little bit more fun with my makeup while my mom was staying with us, I reached for this one, and I basically used it like really quickly to finish the looks, and I like it. It's definitely really, really neon. I preferred it when I paired it with my Viseart palette so that I could have like neutral looks but with the pops of neon. I don't know that this is going to be a palette that, for me personally, I reach for by itself a lot. I did do an all purple look with it that I really liked. So I do think there's, like, I definitely think it's a palette that could be a standalone for a lot of people, but for me personally right now, it's like a little bright. I will say it feels like a more condensed color story, more condensed version of the Rick and Morty Glam Light palette. So if you wanted that one, but it's been out of stock, or you don't want something that big, I think this is really nice, and it's like a small version of that same palette. So I like it. I think the quality is great. Like I said, if you like really bright color stories, I think you'd really enjoy this. But for me personally, I find myself wanting to pair it more with neutral palettes to just tone it down a little bit. Next up is the love category. So I love all of these palettes. I highly recommend them if you wanted them. I think you'd enjoy them. First up, we have the Unearthly Cosmetics Charmer palette. This is the palette that was in the Valentine's Day mystery box. I do believe that's since sold out or been discontinued. Here's the inside of the color story. The color story is super fun. As I've continued to play with it, I feel like there's quite a few of these like purpley shimmers that I wish like one of these two was different. Ideally, this one Weakness. I feel like we could have done something slightly different shimmer-wise to just maybe enhance the possibilities with this palette, but that feels really nitpicky. But that's where I'm at with this. I do really enjoy it. This hot pink shade Crush I paired with the Danessa Myricks the Danessa Myricks Groundwork, the new one, the Blooming Romance one, and it softened this pink, but like it still had some of that brightness to it. It was really pretty. I really liked that look a lot. So anyways, overall, I really enjoy this. I think it's really nice. I like the Unearthly formula, and I think that's a nice palette. Next up is another new palette for the month of March. This is the Adept Cosmetics Cyborg Choir. This is the one that I'm talking about if you guys want me to do my first, like, still edit and post my first impressions look, because I filmed it right when I got it like a month ago and I just have never posted it. Anyways, here's the palette. I think it's really pretty. I've actually reached for this a lot. What's been interesting is I've reached for it to just pull like one shade, and with whatever other look I'm doing, I'm like, okay, let me just grab that shade, or let me just grab that shade. I haven't done like a ton of looks with just this palette. I think I've done two, but it's really just been like one shade here and there with some other palettes. So I think that's how it kind of fits into my personal aesthetic and collection, but it's really beautiful. I've really been enjoying this one a lot. Next up is another new palette for the month of March. This is the Lunar Beauty Moonshroom. Like I said, I'm pairing this with one of the Viseart palettes that came out in April. But anyways, here is the inside of the palette. Absolutely love and adore this color story. I think this is amazing. My one qualm with this palette, and why I can't put it in a Holy Grail favorite, is that I need one of these shimmers to be lighter. Just one of them to be like more of like an iridescent kind of shade. The only, like, the lightest shimmer is this gold one, and I don't love that with the other options, so I feel like I have to continue to pull in lighter shades. Now, most of the time that I've used this, when I wanted the lighter shimmer, I just pulled in the highlighter palette that came in the same collection, so I feel like he sort of did give me that by having that highlighter palette, but I do just wish there was like one lighter shimmer in here. But still really enjoy the palette, like it a lot. It's just not quite perfect for me. Next up, we have the Trixie Cosmetics Horse Girl palette. I freaking love this palette. I love it. It absolutely shocked me how amazing these mattes blend, the quality of these shimmers, like everything about this palette I love. And yeah, I think it's gorgeous and amazing. And, you know, it might be a Holy Grail favorite. Same with the next one. I just didn't feel comfortable putting them there quite yet, but they're close. This is the second to last new palette for the month of March. So this is the Ensley Rain Groovy Garden palette. This is what the inside of the palette looks like. Absolutely stunning, beautiful, amazing color story. I really like the shimmers in here. I think they're gorgeous, but the mattes are really what get me going on this one. I think it's just such a fun color story. I like this one a lot, and I could totally see this becoming a Holy Grail favorite. Like I said, it's just not quite one. I just don't feel comfortable doing that one. I haven't reached for it totally yet. You know what I mean? I feel like I need to finish my review of a palette before I can say definitively yes, Holy Grail favorite, because you never know, there might be a couple shades in there that I don't like. Last up are the two Holy Grail palettes, and shocking, probably none of you. The first one is the Groundwork, the newest Groundwork palette. This is the Blooming Romance palette. I did finish my review of this one, so I can put it up here because I kept reaching for it. I've used most of these shades, obviously not the super dark ones, but I've used most of these shades as both eyeshadow and cream blush, and I love it. Somebody, my friend Daria, I think it was, mentioned that she used this to like, not this shade, but like the powder to do like set her under eyes with like a pink. I'm like, that is a genius idea. I haven't tried it yet, but it's a really good idea. Anyways, I love this palette. It's like its older sister, the Defining Neutrals. Like, the shades just blend seamlessly. They look so nice on the lid, and it's just everything you could want. So anyways, this is the last new palette for the month. Obviously, is my favorite of the new palettes for March. But yeah, that's where we're at. And then, number one, the Danessa Myricks Groundworks Defining Neutrals palette. This palette is my favorite. I will die on the hill that this palette is amazing. I've been tagged by two friends on TikTok who didn't like this palette and then saw my videos talking about how much I love this palette. They tried using it again, taking my tips, tricks, whatever, and then came back to me and were like, okay, I like this now. Like, thank you for that. So I feel like my sole purpose in life now is to convince people to like this palette. But overall, I really enjoy this one. I think it's great. I love using it. I used it for my brows today. I just reach for this one all the time. I think I've used it almost 30 times so far this year, which the next palette that I've reached for the most is at like 5. So that just tells you how much I love that palette. It is all that in a bag of chips. Now, to be fair, I reach for it mostly for brows, or like one quick like color or sometimes contour. So it's not always using it for eyeshadow, but still, it gets reached for a lot. But anyways, those are all of the palettes that I used in the month of March. That is the ranking. So the palette that I reached for the most was the Nueva Vida palette with Steph's Beauty Stash and Gourmand Girls. That palette I used 3 times, and then we have a 3-way tie with palettes that I reached for twice. So that was Groundwork, the first and the second Groundwork, as well as the Cyborg Choir palette. So that's everything. Let me know which palettes you were using in March. If any of these palettes, if you agree, disagree, whatever, keep it respectful in the comments. And I love to chat makeup down there. But I will see you all in my next video. Bye!